Hello, everyone, and welcome to, I think we are on day 4. Yes, we are on day 4 of our 7-day series. So today we're going to be focusing on outline and beats. If there's ever a session that is going to overwhelm you and be just this massive amount of information, it is going to be today. However, tomorrow's AI and the author, so that happens at 3 p.m. Central, so a little bit before this regularly scheduled class. Tomorrow in AI and the author, we are also discussing beats. So if you felt like it was just too much today, or maybe you need some more in-depth, join us again tomorrow. You will not be lost because we're only going to focus on beats tomorrow in AI and the author. So for those who do not have it, again, nothing's changed. So if you already got this document, you do not need it again. Here is that. I am also going to give you some other links real quick. Let me find it again. I want to make sure y'all are aware of some events coming up. So this is for our what we've been calling Sudowrite or pseudo no. So it's writing a novel in Sudowrite in November. That is the link to register for it. If you complete your novel, it just has to be a first draft. But using Sudowrite, you're writing your novel using Sudowrite. During the month of November, you can get a million credits. Almost said $1 million. A million credits. Y'all know what I'm trying to say here. No, this is why I don't do evening classes.
Million
Yeah,
dollars.
sure.
Just a moment. All right, so there you go. Million credits. I wanted to do a couple more. Halloween write-a-thon. It is on the Luma calendar, but here is the direct link as well. So that is, I give out prompts. Monique is actually going to host the start of that. She has some new prompts. So if y'all were there last year and you're wondering, hey, is it going to be the same stuff? She's going to come in with some new stuff. I have a little bit of new things, but we'll also still have those same old story prompts. What the Halloween Write-a-thon is, it's an all-day event in the Zoom. You don't have to stay all day, obviously. We're not going to hold you hostage. You can hop in and out throughout the day as you wish. You can either do the prompts and stuff that we give you, or you could just hang out with us and work on your own story, okay? There's no pressure. Basically, it's just a community writing event where we're all hanging out together. So that is the Halloween Write-a-thon. One more I am going to give is the outline beta link. I'm not sure when they're accepting the next round of people, but be patient with me. I got to sort through all these announcements and find it. Here it is. All right, so here is the outline beta link. And you'll actually see what that looks like today when we mess with outline. Let's save those links somewhere, or if you find with opening like half a dozen tabs on your computer and leaving them open. I believe that is it. Are there any other events I'm missing, co-host or users? Can y'all think of anything that people should know about?
I just wanted to remind people that in case they go to the beat session tomorrow and it's difficult to get into the waiting room, there is a session right before it. So just hang patiently and that room should open up.
Yes, thank you. They're putting out little sessions left and right, so might be that delay. Thank you, Tomas. All right, so it was asked that we briefly cover world building again. So this session might go over, but one more time, the events page. Yeah, here you go. So again, let's say we don't get to cover too much with beats today. AI and the author tomorrow will cover beats as well, and we get to spend the whole hour on it, whereas today is going to be split, briefly covering world building again, and we're going to look at outline and world building, outline and beats, sorry. All right, so it was asked if I could do something to demonstrate custom template in here. I'm not gonna lie, my mind's kind of blanking on this. So I had asked yesterday for ideas. Let's find a different one. Let's go to our Guild of Misfits. That's a clean story. Those who know me know those are rare. All right. So this is just another class story we put together with basically a magical academy of students who aren't that great at magic. So let's customize a template. In this case, I think I would actually want, let me see. Okay, so this doesn't have it. I want to make sure I don't already have it in here. Okay. So since it's an academy thing, I would actually want to know something about like maybe the dorms. Where do the students stay in this story? Because I'm sure there could be, think Hogwarts with the Gryffindor common rooms and all of those where some scenes do happen. So I can imagine that happening in this story. So we would want to create that. I could use setting and modify it, but I love my setting the way it is. So I am actually just going to create a new one. So I'm going to go to customize. Does not look like I can type here, but I can. So I just click into it and I'm just going to start typing dorms. Easy enough to know. And then for these fields, you just put in what you'd want. So for dorms, I would want to know how are students sorted in the different dorms? And how many dorms are there? Maybe there's more. Again, I am thinking along the lines of something like Harry Potter, where they would actually be different names. But if you envision your story, hey, they're all kind of, it's just in one building, everything's right there. Tailor these prompts or trait fields however you need it to fit your vision. So I'm going to say, describe the layout. Describe the layout of the dorms, including common rooms, bedrooms, and any other facilities present. What else could we have? Can anybody think of something else? So we have, how are they sorted in the different dorms? Let's do that. Describe the layout. I'm a sucker for sight, sounds, and smells, so descriptions of the exterior and interior. Are there any rules that apply specifically to the dorms? All right, I'm not saying anything in chat, so unless somebody else has an idea, I'm just going to go with this one. Ways in, ooh, that's a good one. Lesser known ways students have discovered for sneaking in and out the dorms. There we go. I like that. All right. So let's go ahead and do this. So we just added a couple of traits. Yes, Mr. Don.
One more, possibly. I wondered about what is the punishment for breaking the rules?
Oh, I like that. So that could be here. That would also, since it is a school or academy, that would actually be a really good world building card on its own, though.
Okay, good.
I like that idea. Like what are the punishments for that? What are the general rules of the academy? What are What's the punishment if you skip classes? Things, yeah, that'd be a really great card to have. I like that idea. Thank you. All right, and of course you could change these up if you want. I'm just going to click Save New Defaults. And now let's say I suddenly do just a contemporary university romance story. So I have this dorm ones, I could easily go in and change it up just a bit, however I need to. But now that I'm ready, I can come over here to Generate Element, scroll through the list and click Dorms. Now let's say I already had an idea of how I wanted the dorms to look, maybe just a brief little snippet of a description. I could paste that in here. If I wanted to instruct it, hey, have 4 different dorms similar to Hogwarts, I could put that in here. I highly recommend against using things like that because it will bring in those elements because you mentioned Hogwarts. Given how AI is a probability machine of attaching words that kind of fit together, it's likely to pull in something else with Hogwarts. So if you do want that just as a start, make sure you heavily edit afterwards, okay, to remove those references. Let's say you thought of this after you generated a chapter and it randomly talked about the dorms and you liked what it gave you. You can paste at least 1,000 words in this box. I know it looks small. The team is unsure. You might even be able to do up to 2,000. So you could take that section of prose that you did like when it talked about the dorms and put that in here and then click go. Yeah, so the step-by-step to create the custom one, click that customize, type in the name. Again, it doesn't look like you can type into that name setting, that name spot, but just click in there and type your name and click that create button. Here we go, Halls of Chaos, Misfit Sanctuaries. Okay, they're named after mythical creatures and legendary mishaps. I don't see any mishaps, but based on their magical affinities and tendencies towards chaos. Okay. I like that. Dragon's Den for those who exhibit fiery tempers or magic. Phoenix for, oh wow. I actually like this. This is pretty unique, I think. But there you go. So now I have that template to customize. It'll still be in there. So if we go back to our 7-day project, scroll to world building, I now have the dorms right here. Same thing. But let's just say I needed to change something up because this was a contemporary university or something. I could do whatever I needed to with these traits. All right, so I think that helped. Let's move on to outline. And if you do have any more questions about world building or anything previous, let us know at the end of class. Outline. This is the old outline box, and we will actually generate with the new one so you can see that. The main thing to remember with this old outline box, this right here, Act 1, Chapter 1, Chapter 2, you need that. There are no ifs, ands, or buts about this, okay? I like to break the rules as much as anybody. You can't break this rule. Act 1 tells the AI, this is where my outline starts. If you have a chapter prologue before that Act 1, guess what? Outline doesn't care. It doesn't see it. It is non-existent because it is before that Act 1. Act 1 says, here's where my outline starts. And then each chapter needs its own name. That prologue, it is not titled prologue. It is titled Chapter 1, and you could put prologue right there, okay? So the colons actually don't matter, but just for simplicity's sake, go ahead and put them in there. Why not? It used to definitely need those. Now it's kind of just you don't. If you're bringing in your own outline and you don't want to type, because as soon as you start typing, oh darn, what was it I needed? Instead, you can click this Insert Template. There you go. Got my Act 1. I could put some spaces if I want, and now I can paste in my Chapter 1 outline or Chapter 1 summary and do the same for each one. You don't have to have these other acts. They don't really matter. If you like them for your sake, go ahead. Something you can do if you're still working with this old outline because you're not in the beta yet. If you're one of those who maxes out this box, you need more room. Let's say you've gone through however many chapters. We're going to pretend these are a lot of chapters, okay? Let's use our imagination as writers. So let's throw that in as chapter 15. Now I'm ready for chapter 16. And I'm able to type like, oh darn, I'm out of words. You know, I was able to type one, now I'm out of words. Just keep the chapter titles, but erase this. And I say keep the chapter titles because it'll help save some confusion, okay? I know many people that actually only put one at a time, one chapter at a time right here. They leave all the others blank. So when they're started at chapter 1, that's the only one that has a summary. When they're ready for chapter 2, they delete that one, put chapter 2 summaries in there. It's very easy for them. They like that clean look. So that is an option. Why should you keep these? 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 6 right here, right? So when I go to actually create that chapter to write the prose and everything, look what it says. There's only 6 chapters according to the outline because the AI reads them in, I don't even know what type of word would go there, numerological, chronological, whatever. It is very literal. I can have this chapter 5, chapter 11. It doesn't matter. It's chapters 1 through 6 right here, okay? So that's why I say keep those chapter headings just to avoid confusion so you and the AI are on the same page. All right. So while you do have to have that Act 1 and chapter number labels, the actual format of the chapter itself, that chapter summary, can be done in lots of ways. Here's another. I'm actually going to give y'all 2 right now, just in case somebody has to leave before we finish up. This is an outline class we did. It just shows how we went through the different templates. This was for the same exact story. We ran it through each of the outline, just noticed a few things about it, or noted. But these are the prompts that you can use for the chapter summary itself. This one's actually my favorite, my go-to. With the new outline, this portion actually doesn't work that well, so I have actually gone back to mainly using the scene and sequel. That's actually what I learned to write with, so I'm very comfortable with it anyways. You can generate beats per chapter. I don't do it. I know it's in this prompt. That's just in case anybody wanted it. I don't actually do that. But if the only thing you care about is, hey, I don't want that paragraph format. I just want it to generate beats right there in my chapter. Maybe it's easier for you to work with. You can do that just in your prompting for your outline here. I prompt inside synopsis because outline looks at synopsis. So in my synopsis, I would actually just prompt it. Generate whatever number you wanted. Say maybe you wanted 10 beats. Generate 10 beats for each chapter. That's it. Very simple prompt. But yet when it generates that outline, it is going to listen to that and you'll have beats inside each chapter instead of that paragraph format. But lots of options for you to prompt to get what you want. You're actually going to see my new prompt, what I've been enjoying to work with inside the new one. But let me give y'all this one as well. So this is a beats document from our beats deep dive. Thank you, Tomas. I will, since the beats deep dive and outline deep dive are not up in the course videos channel yet, I will get those up on my YouTube within the next couple of days, all right? I promise. But here is some information for you to look over. It's a lot. And again, AI and the author tomorrow, 3 p.m. Central Time. We'll be discussing nothing but beats. So come there if it's a little too much and you're still confused and have questions. Let me find my document here. All right.
I might have missed it. Did Don get to ask his question?
He did. Did he have another one? Did you have another one, Mr. Don?
No, I think I erased the hand, but I'm good. Yeah,
Okay,
you're all doing fantastic.
awesome. So I will give y'all this prompt. This is what I'm actually looking. It doesn't apply that well. We could probably use it on this story, but this is my go-to right now. And adding to either scene and sequel, or if I do decide to go with this one. So it's those two prompts in my synopsis box before I generate outline. All right. Are there any questions on the outline box before I start using the new one? Questions on
Dottie,
formatting?
did you see Dottie's question?
You want to see the beat output?
How does it differ from the prompt output?
Okay. Yeah, let me do that with the old one because it goes faster. So we'll do the scene and sequel. You go up to synopsis, drop it in there. So telling it scene and sequel, I like that day and time format, setting and location, got that little tip from Marigold. And I've just told it 10 beats. We'll go down to outline. I default to novel outline. If you use it, make sure you have something in the genre box. That is a necessity. Otherwise, it'll give you an error message like, hey, this requires, something in the genre box. Pretty self-explanatory. I know Stacy has mentioned it, and I have on my YouTube channel a class of me working inside Canvas, that little feature down here. That is where I would go. I would actually generate 3 different versions of an outline using 3 different templates, and then I would take the time and combine those. That helped me get a lot of depth, the subplots, the romantic arc, everything I was looking for. With this new outline and that prompt that I pasted in chat, I don't need to do that as much anymore. So we have our scene development. In Snow White's bedroom. Okay, so just setting everything up. And the sequel. And then we have the huntsman not able to kill Snow White. Which, okay, so there's a little confusion. This is where my wording in my synopsis is probably off somewhere. But you see here, finds himself unable to kill Snow White due to her innocent charm and the constant interruptions. Innocent charm is probably some wording I did not change from the old synopsis. The constant interruptions is what I changed the other day when I rewrote. So this is where you come in as the writer, go through, make sure everything's accurate, change anything that you need to, make sure everything's in order, and everything carries out the way you want. All right, I am going to go ahead and force stop this one. All right, any questions on this before we move on? Does that help you see the difference, Dottie?
Sorry, Nicole, I do have a quick question. Did you say something about the using novel outline? If you don't have something in the genre box, you'll get a little message implying that?
Like it
Oh,
should
good.
pop up. It requires something in the genre box. I think that's probably the actual wording, unless they've changed it. But that used to be when it first came out, you had to have something in the genre because it looks novel outline takes into account the genre, the amount of your story information, and is supposed to adjust and decide, okay, what's the best outline type for this story? Basically, instead of you having to decide, should I use Hero's Journey, Hollywood Beats, or what? It's supposed to kind of figure that out for you.
Great, thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, so I am going to do I'm going to leave it at this. I will go ahead and throw in that prompt just so y'all can see what it will do. I don't think there's too much here for us to actually work with. We'll see. And I just maxed out. Let's see. I like the relationship arc between Snow White and Prince Charming. So I'm just going to start them as allies, friends, then lovers. Okay. All right, so I have the scene and sequel prompt. I just did not use this portion. And then I put in that other part that I put in the chat. So it was just a combination of the two. This, like I said, this one is usually my go-to. However, the new outline is not doing these 3 headers. I have to change up the wording, and I think I've actually figured that out, to be determined for a later class. Okay, let me generate this and I will get to that question I just saw in chat. So it just took, this is new, so let me delete these real quick. So all it did was it took that other outline and just converted it to the new format to have more room. But I actually want to rewrite it all. So let's generate. So you have a synopsis that is longer than what Sudowrite can handle. Is there a way to use the outline feature anyway? You need to adjust your synopsis. Some people will do it per act. So their brain dump, synopsis, and outline will all be for Act 1. Yes, you will need to adjust the ending, or you can use that insert cliffhanger ending. Let me type that in chat. You could put that in the genre box. That way, whenever it does generate the outline, it won't want to wrap it up. If you don't have that, it's going to attempt to do its job, continue that story until it reaches a satisfying conclusion, which could mean adding multiple different chapters, bringing that story in a direction you don't want it to go. So have the insert cliffhanger ending if you're going to do it by act. That does help, but you still may need to adjust that ending. And then you can keep going through things. Another thing you can do is put what you can in the synopsis, generate your outline, and then you can actually, in the rewrite outline section, put your entire synopsis in there and tell it to rewrite the outline using this information. And you'll see that pop up in just a minute. We have told them or asked them for a bigger synopsis box. They said they would look at doubling it. They're also debating if instead of that, maybe it should look at brain dump, just like characters and world building do. So if synopsis is empty, it can reference brain dump, which is bigger. I don't know if they've 100% decided on which way they're going to go with that. But they are aware it's an issue. Like I was telling them, it really sucks we have this unlimited outline right now, but it can still only read 800 words of story information, which doesn't help for people that want those bigger chapters, 35, 45 chapters. And I will say, I'm fixing to do a refresh to see if it stalled or something here. This new outline version listens very well to you telling it how many chapters you want. So in genre and synopsis, you can use, let me see if I wrote it down here. Yes. So got the best results after my testing, putting it in synopsis and genre, just like that. Of course, substitute the X for how many chapters you want. Just keep in mind, if you're telling it, hey, you want 35, 45 chapters, it still only has that 800 word synopsis to pull from. So it's very likely that it's going to create a lot of irrelevant chapters. And it did not generate. I've learned to report these bugs because I always forget what happened after class. So one more time. Any questions on outline while we wait? Is there a specific format to prompt the 8? What do you mean a specific format? I mean, you can tell it pretty much anything like I did in synopsis. Just give it those prompts inside synopsis because outline is looking at synopsis. So if you're going to prompt the next box, the one you're fixing to generate in, you do need to make sure your instructions are either in a previous box that it pulls from or in a rewrite section of pertaining to that box. The difference between single square brackets or triple square brackets is triple square brackets tell the AI, hey, really pay attention to this. If you do not listen to this, you're a failure. That's essentially what it comes down to. And if this one fails, I'm going to give it a few more seconds. If this one fails, we're just going to move on to beats. No other questions on outline? You vote for every plugin reading Story Bible. So plugins read Story Bible whether or not the creator tells it to. There may be reasons that they don't want it to look at Story Bible information, particularly if it's using a less intelligent model. Those do get confused, or if it's using a model that doesn't have the context window to pull all of that in. All right, so here is our outline. What did we prompt? So I'm seeing it's not doing it did not label scene in SQL. But that's the only other thing. So it did do, sorry for the scrolling. It did do the subplots. Let's see if and we do have the relationship arc I asked for. So obviously I can just read through and see if it follows the scene in SQL method. But the rest it listened to. Gave the date and time, setting and location, all of that stuff, and my subplots and relationship arc. So for now, I'm holding off on using the canvas again because I can typically prompt and get what I want with this new outline. I think you're going to love it. Definitely sign up for that beta. All right. So I will say for the plugin conversation happening in chat, if you want a plugin to do that, just create your own plugin. I mean, it really is that simple. Create your own plugin and you tell it to look at your Story Bible information whenever you create one. I said we're not going to go over plugins, but you just enable that Story Bible data, tell it what you want to look at, and just make sure you're using that model that can hold all of that information, which means the expensive models like Haiku is cheap, but however, that is an Anthropic model, and guess what? Plugins go directly to the LLM, meaning it does not have Sudowrite's prompting. So if you're working with spicy or violent content, there's a very good chance you're going to get a plugin that rejects and says, no, it's not going to do that. So there are reasons behind everything when you're working with AI especially. All right, I'm not seeing any questions on outlines, so let's jump to beats. Let's find a good chapter to do. I'm just going to change this. So he's frustrated. Confesses the queen's plot to Snow White. We're going to say, gives her the chance. And delete this, because again, I do want him being the type that is trying to complete the task. Okay, so we're going to do chapter 2 and see how this goes. One thing we'll probably cover tomorrow is, because I know this is for beginners and this is getting into more advanced. Let me generate this chapter first. So chapter 2, one thing you can do when you're creating your beats. So you're going to see it pops up with a normal 12 to 15 beats. The beats it generates aren't great, okay? This is old prompting. They have said they really need to look at it and revise it, okay? However, you can decide how it generates beats in here. And we'll talk about this more in AI and the author tomorrow, since that's a little bit more of a focus, broader focus. But I can tell it if I want to focus on something in particular, if I want to display is he a huntsman, henchman, what's he called here? Anyways, I can say, focus on his determination to actually kill Snow White, and then his frustration at her repeated clumsiness, all of those things. You're not just stuck with whatever the AI generates right here. You're not just stuck with this, okay? I can prompt it. It's my favorite thing to do, and that is in this Beats Deep Dive document that I linked right here. Instruct Sudowrite how to write the beats. These are just a few examples. This is another area where your options are near limitless, y'all. So I can tell to generate beats like this. This one right here is also very great for using with rewrite or quick edit. Quick edit does a better job since it sees story Bible information. So I'm going to copy that. Paste it right here. So one of the things I can do, paste those beats right here. Highlight them and use the rewrite feature. Customize. Actually need to shorten it because it holds up to 13 words. And go. And you see, it does a little bit thicker beats right here. Actually wondering, did it just kind of combine? Yeah, it actually looks like the rewrite did more of a combined thing, just a little bit extra stuff. So let's do it with quick edit. Highlight them. This is just a simple way for y'all to work with beats, okay? While you're still learning how to do everything and how to make the most of beats. I'm going to use the cheap version since I know that's what most of you have. So this is much better. So again, quick edit does better than rewrite because I think it's because it looks at Story Bible information. I also don't know which model rewrite is using. It might be a slightly older, but I want to say they're actually using the same rewrite in the free version of quick edit. But you can see how it took these. This was what, 744 words. This generated 305 words. So 305 words generated automatically by Sudowrite from that chapter using that prompt with quick edit, free version. See, it costs 0 right here. And it pretty much doubled everything. And then I can take this. Let me accept it. And paste that in. There are so many ways to work with beats, and this box holds up to 2,000 words, y'all. So again, tomorrow on AI and the author, this is what we're going to focus on all day. You'll see some other things, hear Tabby's thoughts on beats, and see how we can play around with it. But in my opinion, that prompt right here, number 1, if you're not comfortable with working with a lot of things yet, you don't know how to prompt inside the outline chapter to get better beats, use this one. Let Sudowrite generate those beats. Make your edits first. So I would have it generate my beats, go through it, make sure everything's good, nothing's out of order or nothing's inaccurate. Make sure it's telling the story that you want to tell, and then use that free version of quick edit and give it this prompt. Remember, it does not, Tomas or Miss Lynn, correct me if I'm wrong. Quick edit does not work in these boxes. Yeah. So you do need to copy those old beats, the generated beats, into the document area and then highlight them and use that prompt. Keep that in mind. Plugins and quick edit, quick chat do not yet work in the boxes. It needs to be in the document area. But to me, that is the simplest way to get accustomed to, okay, this is what good beats should look like, at least a start. Lots more to it. I'm trying to go over the basics here. Something that would work with this one, I'm just looking at that last line. I learned this from John Cresaw. I can never remember if jump cut is supposed to be 1 word or 2 words. But he had me do this in a session. I think it's actually in that recorded video of me and him looking at his ellipses method. I don't know what it is about this phrase, this word, but whenever I ran prose using and it got to that, the prose was just beautiful. It switched POV to somebody else. So you can actually say jump cut to Narcissa's POV. And it just flows so nice and smooth. It's almost as if you read a scene. It wouldn't happen in this case because the location's different. But in that particular story, it was like the scene played out and then it jump cut to somebody else's POV who then relayed what they saw when they saw that scene playing out. It was beautiful. So I highly recommend trying that. Again, just jump cut. Can't remember if it's 1 word or 2 words, but works beautifully. Sorry, I've got to chat. Yes, so I'm not sure if the Sudowrite team for that session, the person messaging me in chat, if it's on the same Zoom. So yes, there could be a conflict, but they're very good about ending on the hour, especially if they know there's a class coming. And I'm not ashamed to say, hey, y'all need to leave. My class is time now. People might get mad at me, but I will do it. But yes, that's what Tomas was saying earlier. If y'all try to get into the AI and the author session tomorrow, it might say something like, host, there's another meeting in progress. Just give it a few minutes. Okay, so basics of beats, because again, tomorrow we're probably going to go more in depth, but we will cover this again. When you're generating prose with these models here, they run in what's called strides. This is a beat. This is a beat. This is a stride. This is how the regular models write. Muse, which is being beta tested right now, does not do that. So I am not talking about Muse. I'm talking about the regular models, balanced, fastest, most accurate, all of those. They run in stride. So it will work on this stride, then it will write this stride, all of that. I don't have numbers here. And guess what? It doesn't matter. It will generate stuff just fine this way. The only thing the AI cares about and how it knows it's a different beats is line breaks. So those carriage returns right here. So if I check my beats, we have 8 beats. Hugo, Snow White, Frustration. Those are the first 3. So if I just combine that, go back down and check beats, guess what? Now it's Hugo, Frustration. It counts those as 2 or 1 beat since I combined those 2. That is what the AI sees for beats. You can have numbers, you can not have numbers. I can have random numbers here. It does not matter. Same thing like in outline. It reads them in the order. Get rid of pronouns. I always say I don't care how ridiculous it sounds. Your best bet is to avoid any confusion on the AI's part. So, Hugo Thornblade, Hugo's footsteps muffled by the carpet of leaves. That one sounds really awful. This isn't your prose. Just keep that in mind. But get rid of the pronouns, because as you work through and start getting rid of those and putting in those proper nouns, you're actually going to occasionally come across a line and say, oh, you know what? I could see how the AI might have misinterpreted that one. It's not a lot, but every few times of me going through a chapter, or I'd say every few chapters, there will be a line I'll come across and I'll say, yep, the AI would have misinterpreted this one, or could have at least. And I always like to say, if you can avoid a confusion, avoid the frustration, do it from the get-go. So get rid of pronouns, get rid of wording like man, woman, excuse me, experienced users. I know y'all seen this 100 times. These are the basics, and we're going to wrap it up. Yes, shun the confusion. Okay. Can anybody tell me the difference in these two? And I know it's a long explanation, so I'm going to be surprised if anybody does speak up. But what is the difference in these two beats right here? Make me a sandwich or cook a 5-course meal.
The meat.
The meat. That is
No,
very.
the meat. Make me a sandwich. Who
Oh,
is it?
I thought you said the
sorry.
meat.
No. Who is it referring to, right?
That is actually a good one. Yes, that is actually a good one. I never actually thought about that in all the examples. That's not the answer on this one, but it is very good and accurate. So these particular ones, I did jump topics there on you so I can understand the confusion. You always hear us talk about thick beats, making sure you're asking the AI for enough action. And it's not necessarily how thick those beats are. So to make a thicker beat, I can combine that. That is now a thicker beat, right? But still, I could be asking for very simple things and not enough, and the AI will start what we call looping. That's when it writes a scene, it starts writing the next stride, and then it repeats. So maybe the characters are walking into a room again or doing something repeatedly, and it's just ending a different way. That's called looping. So I want y'all to think of the size of beats, not necessarily the actual size, but what you're asking for. So if you go into the kitchen and make you a sandwich, or make somebody else a sandwich, make me a sandwich, that doesn't take a lot of time or ingredients, right? You're not asking the AI to do a lot. This could cause some looping because, hey, it needs to fill a word count and it doesn't have much to work with here. So that's when it can start making up its own ideas because, hey, it's just trying to do its job. That's all it's trying to do. Versus if you cook a 5-course meal, that's a big project, right? Takes a lot more ingredients and a lot more time. So this would be considered a thicker beat versus this one, even though they're actually the same size. Right, so yes, sorry, I jumped topics there. So that's lean versus thick beats. That's kind of what we're talking about. Continuing action is another major one. If your characters are continuing to walk, they're continuing to argue, they're continuing to have sex, they're continuing a battle from stride to stride, you need to let the AI know that. This is going to be random. I'm just going to put it in here. Let's just, I don't even know if these are on the right strides, but we're just pretending this is the end of one stride. This is the start of the next stride, okay? So at the end, I would let the AI know, hey, they don't stop fighting because otherwise, again, it's trying to do its job and wrap things up. You told it there's a fight. Okay, now it's going to give you that fight and it wants to wrap things up. No, we're still wanting them to fight. So you're letting it know that's not the end. They're still fighting and you're picking it up back here. If they were still continuing to fight at the end of the stride, I would repeat this. Again, the same thing goes if your characters are traveling somewhere, arguing, all of that stuff. Let the AI know the action is continuing. Very important. You will also have looping that way. So back to the original topic. Does anybody know what's going to happen here, what the issue is? And whoever it was that just spoke up, I'm betting you actually know it on this one. No one? All right, so Sarah walks into the coffee shop and sees a man leaning against the counter. What is the AI going to do with this? A man. Well, let's say for whatever reason you have all female characters in your character list. Well, it's going to make up a person to fit that role of a man. Let's say this was a guy and you only had one man in your character list. It needs to create a new character to fill this role of a man. If you do have a man in your character list, but it's actually not supposed to be this one, it's not this one, it might pull in the wrong man. You have to be specific. Yes, Tomas, make one up. So it's going to pull in the wrong, possibly pull in the wrong character or create a new character. This is very likely. And again, this is verging on more advanced territory, but it's things y'all really need to know when working with beats. So let's change that. All right, so Sarah walks into the coffee shop and sees Michael. So that's specific, right? Now we've told it, hey, she's seeing Michael right here. So now the AI knows, oh, let me go find Michael in the character list. If you don't have a Michael in your character list, it's going to make one up for you. But it's going to go and grab the character Michael. However, I've been working with AI long enough. I know more than likely, 90% chance, I would say, probably even higher. What's going to happen in this particular instance is it is now going to have Sarah either having internal thoughts about Michael or they're going to have a conversation. Hey, long time no see. What's been going on? Or, oh, I still hate you from last summer, whatever. It's going to have them talk more than likely. But what if you don't want that to happen? This is your meet cute for a romance. You followed Nicole's advice. You did not say a man, but now the AI is having these characters talk and you don't want them to talk. So you tell the AI that. It really is this simple, y'all, I swear. Does it take a lot of work? Yes, but this is the part I love. Again, because I have 2,000 words to play with, I don't worry about putting on my details in outline. That's why I don't have a problem with the old outline box. I think I might have maxed it out once because I don't put my details there. Instead, I always put my details in my Beats box. Do not be afraid to give it every single detail of how you see that scene playing out. So now Sarah walks into the coffee shop. It's Michael she's seeing, but hey, Sarah and Michael don't know each other and they're not going to talk to each other. I would repeat this right here for each beat as long as it is accurate. So maybe they're going half the scene where checking each other out or one's checking the other out, however you want to play it. Keep repeating that in the beats until it gets to the point where you do want them to talk to each other. Then you can just say Sarah and Michael do not know each other, but let it know in that beat so-and-so is approaching so-and-so. Does that make sense? These are the basic and most crucial elements of beats. No pronouns. Watch your thickness for your beats. Make sure you're giving the AI enough to do, or it will add in its own details to complete its job. Make sure you're being specific and even be extra with the specifics. Yes, Tomas.
Jade Dark Star has a question about jump cutting to a different point of view. And then she has a like an example in the chat.
Yep, so that should actually work, Jade. Make sure your style box or header is not conflicting with that. So if your style box or header is saying, hey, this needs to be in so-and-so's POV, there could be conflict right there, so adjust it. But that should work.
Can I give an alternate answer to that one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, since that could work, it should work, but it also might confuse the beats since it's happening inside of a set of beats. One thing you could do, which is fun to do in Sudowrite, is just make the same set of beats and run the whole thing in Liam's point of view. And maybe even use a different model, and that way it completely sounds different. And then you can just paste over the parts that you like.
Yep, that's good too. And yet another alternative, dang, every time I mention this, I get so depressed we don't have Ouroboros anymore. So I did this before with Ouroboros and Fastest. So I would actually generate my beats with Fastest, the Fastest model. So I would generate the prose with that because Fastest is typically very short. It condenses a lot of information. It tends to skip over details. I would then take that prose that it gave me from the Fastest model, replace my beats with that prose, organize them whatever way I needed to so I didn't have like 150 beats or something, because a single line of dialogue is going to count as a beat. So I would adjust as needed. And then I would run that with the Ouroboros model, which we no longer have unless they've surprised me. Maybe you think they would give it back to me for my birthday? I should ask. So I would run it with Ouroboros, which Ouroboros, y'all, to this day, I've not found another model that does what it did. It was always just so immersive. I usually scan over my prose just to see how it's doing. I could never scan with Ouroboros because something would always catch my eye and draw me into the scene. No other model will do that. But if you wanted to give it a try, I would say your best bet is to use either Sonnet 3.5 or Opus for your rerun, your second run. I think those would probably be the best. Or Muse, if you have Muse.
Can you show Yaz how you got those models again slower?
Mm-hmm. So this is my Beats box, right? Oh, and for those who don't know, let's say this box is missing for you, like that. Hey, my box is gone. This typewriter icon. Click it, pops back up, click it, go away. So that gives you that box, and at the end of that box, or underneath it, is going to be a box right here. Click the arrows, and this will pop up, and you can select from these presets right here, or go down and look at these models. And this is what we're going to cover tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow we're going to start writing in class. Tomorrow's covering prose and style, I believe. Let me double check that just to make sure. Yeah, tomorrow we're going to start writing prose and look at how to refine style. Lots of options. My go-to is Best Prose version 1. I do love Fastest as well, especially for fight scenes. Those are typically my go-tos right here. What about you, Tomas? Which is your favorite?
For most of my work, I do medium and mixtral. I'll use some of the other models for certain stuff. You know, like if I'm just starting out, I might use Excellent, but just to get started, like I wouldn't do a whole novel that way. But I'm with you. Like I loved Ouroboros. Like I was like when they discontinued that, I was like, what? Like there's like I don't know anyone that uses Gemini. You know, like how does Gemini get to stay and Ouroboros get thrown out?
And for those for those wondering, what so it just so happened that the team was not overwhelmed, and somebody said, "Oh, Ouroboros doesn't work." Because I actually have a Describe with Ouroboros plugin that I loved. My new workflow had just become writing a scene myself and using my Describe with Ouroboros plugin to rewrite it, and it was coming out absolutely perfect. A few days later, somebody says, "Hey, Ouroboros isn't working." The team goes and investigates. Oh, it looks like Ouroboros is discontinued, and it immediately gets removed. And guess what? The next day, Ouroboros was back. They had just done some tweaking and pulled it down temporarily. So, and by the time, it was just that brief little time, but it was more work for them to add it back in. Oh, it's like the danged if you do, danged if you don't. If they had left it in there, people would have been complaining, hey, this doesn't work. Why is it in here? They removed it. We want it back. But anyways. All right. So I know this was a lot today. Like I said, if any of the days this week is going to overwhelm you, it's likely this one. And we really have not covered all of the possibilities. Like I said, AI and the author tomorrow. We are covering beats. The whole hour we'll be talking about beats. So if you want to know more, come check that out. We'll show you some other tricks. We'll play with prompting inside outline, beat headers, giving instructions inside the beats, different things like that. But are there any questions on any of this? I know we're slightly over the hour. No questions? All right. I'm going to hang around as usual in case you weren't comfortable asking on camera, and I'll answer questions then. But for now, thank y'all for hanging out. Homework for those who during the homework. What homework do we have today? Well, generate your outline and see if you want to play with the beats. So maybe generate beats and play with that simple prompt if you'd like for this one right here using quick edit, or play around with instructions in the outline if you want. For those who do want to experiment, what I'm talking about is just doing something along this line. God, I hate that word determination. I know it's going to bring it in. I would actually pick something else to use if I had time to think about it. Go into more details. But this is what I mean by giving instructions. So now when it generates beats like this, since a good bit of y'all are still hanging around, let's go back up to chapter 2. And we'll just generate the beats real quick, see what that changes. Yeah, so I see Tomas answered the series question. So Sudowrite is working on a series stuff. I'm hoping it's close to being ready. But also we have that duplicate project. So let's see. So you see it's pulling in little things like this. So now he's Got that serious demeanor, focused on his mission. And then it has all of these where it's just little things where it's focusing more on their actions of what I told it to focus on. So she's oblivious, all of that. So that's how you can guide the beat generation. All right, so you could duplicate project if you're doing your series. Let's say I'm ready, I'm done with book 1. I can duplicate this, that way I can use the characters and world building. Just delete those extra chapters I don't need from book 1, or put them all in one folder labeled book 1. That's the easiest way, in my opinion. Yes, Tomas.
Along with the duplicating project, there's something I do. So let's say like you're doing, I'll use science fiction as an example. Let's say you're doing a science fiction series, sort of like a Star Trek thing, where sometimes you're on a ship, sometimes you're in a shuttle, and sometimes you're on a planet. Nicole, can you go to brain dump?
Mm-hmm.
So what I'll do is at the top of brain dump, I'll just put a title, and it'll say like on the ship or on the shuttle or on the whatever. And then I use the what do you call that? The history as kind of a filing system. So that's the way I can do a series within one project using all the same world building and characters, and just changing out kind of what's happening week to week, because the only thing that would really change is sort of brain dump information.
Pretty neat. I like that. And y'all, like I said at the beginning of this, I teach Sudowrite the way I use it, but getting experienced users like Tomas, and if you go to Miss Lynn's class, seeing her way of doing it, there are so many different ways to use Sudowrite. So I promise you, if my way's not working for you, somebody has a way that will. We just need you to be patient. Only you can decide. Are you eager enough to use it and you want to learn from somebody? Just take the time, go to a few classes with different teachers, see whose methods and workflows resonate best with you. I am going to go ahead and stop the recording. So thank y'all for hanging out with me. Hopefully I will see y'all tomorrow for AI and the Author if you want to learn more about beats. If not, we will be here for day 5. Bye, everyone.